Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, our service for Edna is just about to commence. So can I please ask anyone with a mobile phone if you can make sure it's switched to silent or off, please. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please ask you to be upstanding? Thank you. Straight up there, thanks, Jess. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated.
Thank you to the bagpiper. It's always good to hear the pipes, isn't it? Some of us definitely feel that way. Stirs you up, so it does. Stirs you up. Welcome all of you, family and friends of Edna, Mary Lee. Here we come to celebrate Edna's life, celebrate her life together, her place in our life. Here we come celebrating, remembering the days, the happy occasions, the times, the places. We stir these memories up for ourselves at this time and stir them up with others. Perhaps even looking through photo albums and asking questions about who's who and being introduced to some of the members of the family. Oh, that was one of your uncles, mum's uncles, and some of her cousins, and you see some pictures, people you never knew before. It's a time for stirring up memories and perhaps even some new memories being introduced to you. Here we come remembering her, remembering husband Fred. Here we come for children, for Robert, David and Jenny, the twins. I always find it amusing when there's twins. They're always introduced as David and Jenny, the twins. It's never just, this is David and that's Jenny. David and Jenny, the twins. As if you've got to know. Here we are for grandchildren. What a day it is for you too. I know there's a special bond that exists between grandparents and grandchildren, a most beautiful bond. So we feel for you and your sense of loss this day. And of course, it might well be your first grief, your first bereavement, but you'll be okay, because within a loving family, you're loved the way through. And that's the only way to get through such a time as grief, just to be loved your whole way through. Loved and comforted, sharing how you feel, sharing in how other people feel, and just working it through together. Some who go further back than any of us would be her siblings, Norma and Phil. They all go back to days of childhood, and perhaps as you're looking through old photos, you'll have seen pictures of Edna with Norma and Phil, with parents, Elizabeth and George, seeing her when she was just a young lass. There was also her with the Payne and Kellett family. They have to be mentioned today. And not just the Payne and Kellett families, but they were her family too. It became her family. And what an important role you have played in her life and in the life of the family. As we come to celebrate Edna's life, it's an odd feeling for us humans, because we've got such happy memories, such fun times, so you could be laughing. But at the same time, you can be weeping. So you can be laughing with tears rolling down your face, because we're a peculiar animal as humans. We can do both of these, laughter and tears, and at the same time, we're a funny sort of animal. There are various writings that we've written to express this experience of grief that we come to know. Some of these are in song, some of these are in poetry, writings. But we seek ways to express them. Cards of condolence. Sometimes we read these and we say, that's it. That's perfect. That's just how I feel. And there's a common human experience within this. But it helps you to read something where you see, that's how I feel. It's acknowledged. Some of these are our oldest writings. We call them sacred literature. Others are more modern, saying much the same thing. Here's a lovely old piece it's always been a great reassurance to people that love never ends. Love holds you forever. So Nick's going to bring this piece to us now from Romans chapter 8. Thanks, Nick.
Who then can separate us from the love of Christ? Can trouble do it, or hardship, or persecution, or hunger, or poverty, or danger, or death? No, in all these things I am certain that nothing can separate us from his love, neither life nor death, neither angels or other heavenly rulers or powers, neither the present nor the future, neither the world above nor the world below. There is nothing in all creation that will ever be able to separate us from the love of God, which is ours through Jesus Christ our Lord.
A great reassuring piece that death is not the end. Love continues. And that you will know. You will know that in your own hearts, that the love continues. You continue loving your mum, your gran. You continue to experience her love for you as you've known it. It lasts. It never runs out. And it will be an inspiration to you for long enough. For long enough. Edna Mary Lee. Born October 16th, 1926. Born in Sydney to parents Elizabeth and George. She was one of 3 children to them, along with Norma and Phil. Edna, you might not know, but she had a hard start to life. When only 5 years of age, tragedy with her mum passing and dad struggling with everything. The result was that Edna, Norma and Phil were placed in a children's home at Carlingford. A difficult start. Edna's early life was tough. My goodness, it got even tougher. Can you believe it that her sister Norma passed away while in the children's home? Must have been a time where she felt her whole world was crumbling. And just a child. Edna lived in the home until the age of 14. This was when she was taken in by the Payne and Kellett family that I mentioned earlier. Taken in by them, she remained ever grateful to them and her family, still ever grateful. The Pellet and Kellett families became became her family. She lived with them until the age of 33, when she married. She sang back in the days in church choirs, and I'm told that she had a beautiful voice. Edna married Fred at Kingsgrove Uniting Church, 18th of March 1961. Happy days. Their first home was at Denniston. They went on to have 3 children, Robert, David, and Jenny, the twins. Denniston was the family home, a place of so many memories, and me just mentioning it will cause you, no doubt, to have a flood of memories that come back. How many memories? Just a flood. How to separate them all? So many memories. You might even have some memories that come back to you these days that you haven't thought of since back in those days. And they come back to you, and how warming they are. After the children left home, they downsized to West Ryde and then the Central Coast in 1997. They moved there to be closer to Jenny and husband George and family. From the joy of their own children, they then had this other joy. Joy upon joy, I often think of it, with grandchildren, Byron, Oscar, Nick, Daniel and Claudia. Edna had various interests in life. First up, her family. And that's so understandable when you think of how her journey took a turn when she was young in life and what family would mean to her. So she realised the precious nature of family. Family was her number one interest, no doubt related to where she had come from. She recognised the fragility of life and family. In early life, your nan wasn't always an older lady. She was a young lass at one point, and she was a good runner. And like all of her era, they all danced, so she was a dancer. I'm not sure if there's any of the pictures of her in her ball gowns and things in the pictures, but they were always a bit special to see. The ladies in their ball gowns and the gents with their dark suits on. It was quite an era. It was a time when these couples like this often met at a dance. And practically for everyone of that generation, when I visit the family, I'll often ask, what dance did you meet at? How did you know we met at a dance? Oh, you all met at a dance. You can just be pretty sure 90% of that generation met at a dance. Someone in years to come will be standing here and they'll be asking people, and what app did you meet on? How times change, eh? So when she was younger, she was a dancer. She never really spoke much about this early phase of life, but she also did canoeing. She was a good runner, as I say. In her early life memories, there were the war blackouts, something else she had to endure, the fear of war. Black curtains drawn, all lights off, to be unobserved to enemy planes flying overhead. Like all of her generation again, they were great. They were very well skilled at sewing, knitting, embroidery. They were of such a calibre that they were able to make clothes. They could make their own clothes and made clothes for the family. She was even doing this up until just a couple of years ago. What a great skill. Edna worked in the Payne haberdashery store, in sewing, knitting and crochet department. She taught at Sunday school. Her faith was something that was important to her. She worked at Dunlop's stationery company. It was actually here, through a colleague, that she met Fred. Other employment included working for a doctor and for a teacher, doing housekeeping, washing, ironing. And then there was her time of working at Johnson & Johnson, first in the canteen and then in the lab. She certainly kept herself busy in employment, didn't she? Edna enjoyed holidaying, enjoyed going on holidays to Ulladulla, to their friends there and to the friends' holiday home. That will bring back memories as I mention that to you, I'm quite sure. She would share in daughter Jenny's charity work and on her behalf sell raffle tickets every day. Get your raffle tickets, get your raffle tickets. I'm told she made the best Christmas puddings. Yum, yum. I'm just thinking about the Christmas puddings there. I'm just enjoying the moment. It was back in 2007, again, that grief struck and husband Fred passed. Edna continued. She was of that calibre and character and of that generation. They continue. And for you younger members of the family, you've seen in your family then just how you live, how you continue, how you face grief. You saw it in your gran. She pressed on with the love and support of family. She decided to travel, taking eldest grandson Byron to Singapore to visit Robert and family. That'll be a great thing to think back on, what days they must have been. Grandma and grandson going to Singapore. Can just hardly imagine how good that must have been. And the rest of the grandchildren must be so jealous. How come you got to go? Jenny won a holiday to the United States. She took her mum. Her mum loved it, loved the time in Hawaii. What a pleasure. Later, there was a joyful time when visiting Ireland, and then joy upon joy upon joy, getting to Scotland. What a pleasure that must have been. She was going back to the home of her family in Edinburgh, where her mum and grandparents had grown up, and I know that that was extra special to her. Whatever she had, it was for family. It just meant everything to her. Her sense of family was so very much grounded in the Payne and Kellett families. She would do anything for her children. And you know what? This is so often the case. What goes around comes around. As humans, we like karma. What goes around comes around. Lived with Jenny and husband for some 8 years plus. What a beautiful thing to do. And to someone who deserved it so much, what a beautiful thing to do. We're all grateful to you for doing this and expressing your love and being able to look after your mum in that way. Perfect. She would do anything for her children, so they would do anything for her. She loved her children and grandchildren and family, so long as they didn't phone during the bold and the beautiful. Then she didn't love them so much. The bold and the beautiful, eh? And finally, of course, there was her love of chocolate. Latterly, when she would maybe get worked up, there was a way in which Jenny was able to calm her down by saying to her, I'll get you 2 pieces of chocolate. And that's why you got 2 pieces of chocolate when you came in. You can enjoy those with her as we watch through some pictures in a moment to come. So it had been a hard start to life for Edna. The end was tough too, but her life was good. And she blessed the Payne and Kellett families forever, forever making it so. And she had a good life. You made it so. What a lovely thing to contemplate and to take to your own hearts. So you carry on in her memory, making life good for you, for your neighbour, for the stranger, for all. We're going to hear from family now, and this is always a privilege to hear from family. Jenny, daughter, and Byron, grandson. I don't know if Byron's going to tell us about that trip to Singapore, but what happened in Singapore stays in Singapore. We're going to hear from Jenny and Byron then.
Kenneth basically said everything I was going to say, but
Made it easy for you.
yeah. So I'm just going to tell you some funny stories of Mum. Okay, so when I was young, I was a little bit of a terror growing up. Who'd believe that? Anyway, I ran away from home. Lee and Leanne knows that very well. Ran away from home. I got back home and Mum had bars on my window, bedroom window, so I couldn't escape again. Mum was always washing and ironing, loved it. We always said that Mum would take a washing machine and iron to heaven so she could do everybody's laundry. So that's one thing we always said. One time, Mum ran over Dad and broke his leg. But the funny thing with it was that it wasn't her fault, it was Dad's fault, because he had his foot out of the car. So they were parking, they were having coffee, they were going to Sydney and they were parking the car, probably going to babysit Byron, probably. And then Mum remembered that they mow the lawn and she better move the car up a bit. Forgot to tell Dad. So instead of putting it into drive, she put it in reverse and did a donut in the paddock. And poor Dad had his foot. And anyone that knew Dad, he had one bad foot because he had polio, and the other one, Mum broke. So poor Dad couldn't walk for quite a long time. So George and I got married in the same church as Mum and Dad on the same day. Mum absolutely loved that. I remember when we went and told George asked Dad to if he could take my hand, and Dad said, "Do you want a step ladder?" George had no idea what that meant, and then Mum said, "Oh, great, you can get married on our wedding anniversary," and he said, "Oh, okay. Why not?" Sorry, phones, I should have written it down. I have so many great memories of my mum. I had the best parents ever. They did everything for us kids. They drove us everywhere. Didn't matter what time of night, when we needed to be picked up. Didn't matter if we had too much to drink. You would ring them and they would be there. They, like Kenneth asked me what was Mum's interest and what was Mum's hobbies. Well, her kids were her hobbies. And then after that it became the grandkids. Mum never wanted to be a burden on anyone. So when she came to live with us, the condition was if she ever got dementia and it ever got bad, I had to promise her that we'd put her in a home. It's something I never wanted to do, but it's something that we had to for her own safety. It was harder than most because it was COVID, and she went in just before COVID. So it was a lot of times she couldn't visit, but every opportunity I had, we did. And the kids and the grandkids would come up every opportunity they could. Unfortunately, sometimes there was only allowed to be one at a time or one visit, so it was always me. Mum, Mum started in a nursing home, in a children's home. I never wanted her to be in a nursing home. But what could we do? One thing she loved was her chocolates. And that was our communication for the last 2.5 years. It didn't matter. We'd go to the nursing home and Mum would be upset and she'd see me, or she always knew who I was. She never ever forgot me. And although her dementia and she couldn't talk much at the end, but she always remembered. I'd get the box of roses. There was always plenty because she forgot she had them. So we'd get the chocolate and we'd give her one chocolate, and by the time she had that chocolate, she would start calming. By the second chocolate, she had a smile on her face. So this is why everyone today has got 2 chocolates. So when we're looking at Mum's slide, I want you to eat your chocolate and have your own memory of my mum. Mum, I love you. You're the best mum ever. And please rest in peace.
Nanny was full of energy and always had a smile on her face. She loved her grandkids more than anything, and any opportunity she had to look after us, she'd be there. She would climb mountains to make it happen. Didn't matter how many trains or buses she had to get or how early she needed to get up, she was there. She never wanted to put anyone out, but if you needed her, she'd drop anything and make sure she got there. When I think about Nanny, a few memories from my childhood come to mind. Every school holidays when we went up to visit, the fridge and cupboards would be fully stocked with Jat's biscuits and cheese, jelly and custard. If you behaved and were lucky enough, she would dip into her stash of precious mint slices and give you one. She would take us to the cinema and sit through some of the worst kids' movies. But as long as we were smiling, she was happy. One time she took us to see Harry Potter in 3D. She thought she could use the glasses to hide having a nap and get away with it. Halfway through the movie, I look over to see her snoring away, having the time of her life, but she'd always claim afterwards she was just resting her eyes and loved it. I loved her little quirks, like how she ended a phone conversation with "bye," or how she'd drive us to the shops and spend ages putting a big steering wheel lock on perfect so the car would be there when we got back. She would stand on the porch after every visit and just continue waving until we left, and then would follow us up the driveway. I don't know how her hand didn't fall off. Every day at 4:30, you'd find her in her rocking chair watching Bold and the Beautiful. In order to get to watch The Simpsons at 6 o'clock, we had to watch her show with her. I swear the same thing happened every single episode, and I'd ask her questions and she'd always give me a talk about patience and how doing good things for others will be repaid in the future. The thing she loved in the absolute most was when one of our grandchildren would walk next to her, holding her hand and helping her get around. Her face would just light up and she'd bring out the pout when you forgot. She was a great people watcher too. She'd just sit contently in the corner observing everything that was going on around her while soaking it all in. She'd be having a great time just because everyone else was. She loved coming to sports games or supporting the traditional holiday bowling excursion with the odd fist pump and high five. And when she couldn't go to games, she was knitting us loads and loads of bed socks, beanies and scarves in different shapes and sizes and whatever was requested. Every winter, we would get a new set of Dragons red and white scarves and beanies without fail. She was always knitting things for other people's families, and it was her escape and way of showing people how much they meant to her. Nanny had a bit of a mystery about her too. When we were sifting through boxes of memories and photos of her last week, we found letters she'd written and received from her sisters. We also found out that in 1954 she gained admission to the HMAS Penguin to meet the Queen. She loved the royals so much, and the fact that we didn't know she'd met the Queen shows how humble she was and how much she cared about others. Every time I saw her, she'd ask question after question about our lives and what we were doing, and sit there and just listen. She wanted to know every detail and would celebrate every award like you were winning an Oscar, because in her eyes you were. It was difficult seeing Nanny's memory decline over the last few years, but every single time we'd visit, the same smile and excitement would be there, no matter what. Her love and dedication for us would always fight through the disease and give us a glimpse into her and another good memory to savour. I'm going to miss all the little things that made her the best grandma ever, but I know that every major milestone she'll be sitting next to Papa, looking down on us, watching us over with pride, and I hope you all have a cuppa and a mint slice for her later in her memory. I love you, Nanny, and I'll treasure you forever.
It really is a privilege to hear from family when they share like that with us. We're so very grateful to you. Thank you for sharing those memories with us. I was thinking about the window bars, and I was thinking, Jenny, that's your slant on it. They were to keep you in, were they not to keep George out? Byron, you didn't let the grandchildren down. I think in 30 years of doing this, every single grandchild in all those years that's ever spoken always mentions Nanny's food. So you didn't let the team down. I was waiting for it, and it even got mentioned a few times. Nanny's food is always very special. There's always that sprinkle of love that goes into it that just makes it extra special and like no one else's. And then the royals. Imagine getting the royals and the privilege that the Queen had of meeting Edna. Isn't it nice to word it that way? So we're going to stir up some more memories now as we see something of Edna's life in picture. You've been holding on to your chocolate for long enough. Some of you will be salivating terribly, ready for this chocolate. So enjoy your chocolate as you share it with Edna as we see something of her life in picture.
I took the supermarket flyers from the windowsill, threw the day old tea from the cup, packed up the photo album Matthew had made, memories of a life that's been loved. Took the Garrett Wilson cars and stuffed animals, poured the old ginger beer down the sink. Dad always told me, don't you cry when you're down, but Mum, there's a tear every time that I blink. Oh, I'm in pieces, it's tearing me up, but I know a heart that's broke is a heart that's been loved. So I'll sing hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mum. When I fell down, you'd be there holding me up. Spread your wings as you go. When God takes you back, He'll say hallelujah, you're home. Fluffed the pillows, made the bed, stacked the chairs up, folded your nightgowns neatly in a case. John said he'd drive, then put his hand on my cheek and wiped a tear from the side of my face. And I hope that I see the world as you did, 'cause I know a life with love is a life that's been lived. So I'll sing hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mum. When I fell down, you'd be there holding me up. Spread your wings as you go. And when God takes you back, He'll say hallelujah, you're home. Hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mum. You got to see the person I have become. Spread your wings and I know that when God took you back, He said hallelujah, you're home.
Hallelujah, you're home. You grandkids are absolutely rotten. You grandkids are rotten, I tell you. Whenever Jenny was away, the grandkids used to stage a picture. They'd stick this bottle of something in her hands. She doesn't drink. They would just put this bottle in her hands and they would take a photo and send it off to Jenny saying, look what Nanny's drinking. Rotten grandkids. Yeah, it was. We have a lovely touching moment now as you come and place your flower on the casket. Thank you.
my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be.
There are always people who would like to be here but are unable to attend, either through distance, older age, or unwell. On behalf of them, it's always good to place a flower. On behalf of those who are unable to be here, we place this. Thank you all for being here today. It means so much to the family. I know it does. They'll be so glad to see your face. If you're able to join them afterwards, you're invited to the Urimba RSL, not far from here at all, just back along the road. If you're not sure where it is, then please ask for directions, but you'd be very welcome there. There's a lovely old Christian hymn which speaks of, it is well with my soul. And if you're imagining Edna in her last struggle with dementia, then think more of the freedom from that dementia now. And perhaps as we hear Skye reading this, you'll think of Edna saying, it is well with my soul. Skye is from the Payne and Kellett side of the family, so it's beautiful that you're going to come and read this now. Thank you, Skye.
I have lots of fun memories of Christmas with the Lees and just hanging out. Thank you for asking me to read. O Lord, haste the day when my faith shall be sight, when the sky be rolled back as a scroll. Then the trump shall resound, and all the lost shall be found. Singing well it is well with my soul. The Lord has regarded my helpless estate and restored me to life, sight and voice. I was lost and dismayed, but now I am found and I'm free. Singing, well, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul.
It is well with my soul. I hope it's well with your soul this day. It's very disturbing, of course it is, and I've seen many a tear as I've been standing here. May it be well with your soul. Edna's at peace, at rest. It is well with her soul. And her prayer now would, of course, be, May it be well with your soul. We've come to this moment in the service then where we farewell, where we say, go in peace. For this we always stand in honour and in tribute, so if you're able, would you please be upstanding? Edna, it is well, it is well, it is well with your soul. Here we've remembered your life, celebrated your life in our own, celebrated even your gift of life, some of us. And now, though it breaks our hearts to do so, we farewell you with words of go in peace, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Go in peace. It is well with my soul. She would wish you then to go in peace. I leave with you then these words of a Celtic blessing from my part of the world. Deep peace of the shining star to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of warm, assuring, comforting love to you, that you may go in peace. There's a lovely old piece that the bagpiper often plays for us Scots. At our end, it's a lovely piece called Going Home. Edna, go in peace. Going home.